All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
This time we're talking all about,
Being prepared for medical mishaps while traveling.
yeah,
So, we've all been there.
you're on a trip, maybe you're in a foreign country, or even just,
Ah.
a few hours from home and something happens.
And you realize, oh,
Right.
I really wish I had packed that.
Band-Aid or that antiseptic wipe or,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
And it's like the worst feeling.
It can really put a damper on your whole trip.
Absolutely.
Today we're going to talk about why
Having a well-stocked first aid kit.
is absolutely essential for any traveler.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
Don't realize how stressful it can be.
deal with a medical situation.
When you're far from home,
Right.
you're in a new place.
You might not speak the language.
Exactly.
You're not familiar with the healthcare system.
And even just like,
Finding a pharmacy could be a challenge.
yeah, and even if you can find a pharmacy,
How do you know what to even ask for? You're trying to explain your symptoms.
in language you don't speak, and it's
Uh-huh.
just, it can be a nightmare.
It really can.
I remember this one time I was,
Taking in the Scottish Highlands.
oh, wow.
And I was miles from civilization.
And I managed to slice my hand open on a rock.
Oh, no.
And I was like, what am I going to do?
But thankfully, I had packed,
Pretty well-stocked first aid kit.
and I was able to patch myself up
Big
enough
way.
to get back to safety.
But it really made me realize
Yeah.
how important it is to be prepared.
For anything when you're traveling.
Absolutely.
So today we're going to use the Welly First Aid Kit.
As a kind of case study
Okay.
to talk about what makes,
It's a good travel first aid kit.
what kind of supplies you should include,
How to organize your kit.
and some tips for packing it.
Sounds good.
So the Welly First Aid Kit,
It's pretty compact. It's durable,
and it's really well organized.
which I think are all
yeah, those
some
are
really important features.
for a travel first aid kit.
I
Definitely, that's
gotta
going to
tell
take
you.
up a ton of space in your luggage.
Right.
But you also want to make sure,
That you have everything you need
yeah, for sure.
in case of an emergency.
So let's dive into some of the.
Specific supplies that are included in this kit.
Okay,
So first of all, you've got a variety of bandages.
which is super important.
Yeah, definitely.
You've got your basic adhesive bandages.
In different sizes.
You've got some of those flexible fabric bandages,
Oh, yeah, those are great.
which I personally love.
They stayed on so much better,
Yeah, they do.
and they're more breathable, too,
Yeah.
which is good if you're in a hot climate.
And then they've also got some waterproof bandages,
Oh, those are essential,
which are lifesavers.
especially if you're doing any
great.
water activities.
Yeah, or if you're just in a...
Humid environment and you're sweating a lot.
Those waterproof bandages will stay on.
Exactly.
They'll help prevent infection.
And speaking of preventing infection, you've also got to have antiseptic wipes
Yes.
and antibiotic ointment in your kit.
Absolutely.
Even a minor cut
Mhm.
or scrape,
Can get infected really easily.
especially if you're in a new environment
Right.
and you're exposed to different bacteria.
So those are definitely must-haves.
Now, what about medications?
What are some essential medications?
Jeff, you should pack in your travel first aid kit.
Well, I think over-the-counter pain relievers
Or a must.
Yeah.
Like ibuprofen or acetaminophen,
for headaches, muscle aches.
things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Antihistamines is also really important.
For allergies.
You never know when you might have.
An unexpected reaction to something.
Right.
Whether it's food or insect bites or pollen
So having an antihistamine on hand,
can really help to alleviate those symptoms.
absolutely.
And then if you're prone to motion sickness,
You'll definitely want to pack.
some motion sickness medication as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so we've talked about
some of the basic supplies.
that you should include in your travel first aid kit.
But now let's talk about...
How to actually use these supplies
Okay.
in different travel scenarios.
So let's say you're on a city trip.
You're doing a lot of walking.
You're exploring museums and historical sites.
What kind of medical mishaps might you encounter in that situation?
Well, you're
Doing a lot of walking on those city trips. So
Yeah.
blisters are definitely a common problem.
You might also get minor cuts or scrapes.
From navigating crowded streets or
Wow.
bumping into things
And then you're also exposed to new foods.
and different allergens.
Yeah, that's
So you might have an unexpected allergic reaction.
So in that situation, it's really important.
To have your first aid kit easily accessible,
Exactly.
maybe in your day pack or something.
Yeah.
So that you can quickly,
Grab a Band-Aid or an antihistamine.
if you need it.
For sure.
All right, now let's switch gears.
And talk about adventure travel.
Okay.
So this is where things can...
Get a little bit more unpredictable.
Right.
You're hiking,
Since you're
doing
next to
water
something.
sports.
Right.
You're maybe exploring.
Some more remote
What
areas.
kind of medical issues might you run into there?
Well, in addition to the thing,
You talked about for city travel.
You might also have to deal with things like
Sprains,
strains,
insect bites.
even altitude sickness
Yeah.
if you're going to be hiking at high altitudes.
So it's really
Give
important.
them a comprehensive first aid kit for
Absolutely.
adventure travel.
And you also want to make sure
That your kit is durable.
and waterproof.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want your supplies
Getting damaged or wet.
if you're out in the elements.
And then, of course, we can't forget about,
Family travel.
oh, yeah.
When you're traveling with kids.
It's like a whole other ball game. It really is.
You've
Like
got
a constant
absolutely into scrapes and bumps and bruises, so it's important to have.
a user-friendly first aid kit
Yeah.
that's specifically designed for kids.
And having
Those brightly colored bandages
and the fun antiseptic wipes.
can really help
That
them.
thing's a little bit less scary for them.
Exactly.
So speaking of this Welly kit,
I noticed that it uses
clear wrapping, sterile packaging,
and very clear labeling.
which I think is so important,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
especially in a stressful situation.
Right.
You don't want to be fumbling around
Trying to figure out what something is
or how to use it.
when you're in a hurry.
Exactly.
So having everything clearly labeled
And
can
organized.
really make a big difference.
All right.
All right. So any other,
Travel safety tips for our listeners?
well, I think it's really important to be strategic about where you pack your first aid kit.
Okay.
You know, don't bury it
At the bottom of your suitcase.
where you can't get to it easily.
Right.
Keep it in your carry-on bag.
Or in an easily accessible pocket.
Chef backpack.
Yeah. Good point.
And then another tip is to,
Regularly check the expiration dates.
on your supplies.
Well, that's a good one.
And make sure to replace anything.
That's expired or that's been used up.
So basically just,
To make sure that your kit is always stocked.
Exactly.
Ready to go.
and it's also a good idea
To familiarize yourself
with the local regulations
on medications and first aid supplies.
before you travel to a new country.
That's a really good point.
Some countries have
Very strict rules about.
what you can and can't bring in,
Yeah, you don't want to get.
caught off guard at customs.
Exactly.
All right, so that's all great advice.
I think you've covered
A lot of really useful information today.
about travel first aid preparedness.
But I want to leave our
For your
listeners,
final thought
what's one unexpected item?
that you would include in your travel first aid kit. And why?
That's a good question.
I think for me it would probably be,
A small sewing kit.
oh, interesting.
You know, you can use
To
it,
repair torn clothing
or even to stitch up a minor wound.
in a pinch.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
So yeah, the best first aid kit.
Is the one that you
Yeah.
have with you.
And that's tailored to your individual needs.
So think about your travel style
Think about the activities you're going to be doing.
and pack accordingly.
Great advice.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time.